Hello, my friend, and welcome to the podcast. Today, we are talking about the fact that progress does not require a perfect plan or a perfect life for that matter. And if you're listening and you actually take action after this episode, it means that you're going to release this idea of having this perfect life and this perfect plan before tackling the things that you actually care about, which is what we're all here for. And I want this year to be the year that you follow through without waiting for the perfect time to follow through, because I know you want the thing that's on your heart. I know that that's what you want. And so let's go get it. And the reality with this is that so many times, myself included, I absolutely have done this almost without thinking about it. We often think that in order to have the most perfect progress or progress in general, that we need to create this like super perfect plan, like color coded, looks awesome, everything feels like it's perfect. And then we often tend to like wait for things to calm down. I don't know about your life, but my life is not all the time calm. And I don't know anyone, not a single person I've ever worked with has had like the most chill life ever where nothing ever comes up, right? And so we need to know that the plan is a great place to start, but it's never going to go 100% according to plan. And listen, I help people plan so much. You're talking to the queen of planning. I love it. I love a good color-coded plan. I love a project plan. I love structure. But the number one thing that I start with, and if you've worked with me, you know I say this. I say, we're going to create this plan, and it's not going to go according to plan, but it's going to give you a place to come back to when things get thrown off. It's going to give you a plan to keep going when things are going good, but when you get thrown off, you're going to have something to come back to, kind of like a GPS. You know, when you're driving and all of a sudden there's like an accident or road construction or something, and the GPS is like, we're going to reroute you. That's what we're doing when we're getting back on track, is like we come back to the plan, like the GPS is still connected. We still have like, I'm here and I want to go over here. So we have the points, but instead of going like left, then right again, we're going to go right, left, turn around the circle and go over here. And we'll end up in the same place, but we're going to get there in a twisty, turny way. That's kind of what we need to expect to happen, which I understand is not so fun. You know, life is messy and we have to understand that that's what's going to happen. And that's what I saw. When I looked back, every year I do kind of a recap of who I worked with in terms of my one-on-one clients. Maybe I worked with groups, everyone that I work with, just know I look at what we did. And I basically put together something that kind of gives me a recap of how I supported people. It's a really helpful tool for me because so often we can look at did I achieve the goals I set in terms of revenue, time, that sort of thing. The way in which I look at impact is I look back at my notes of what when I worked with people. Every single one of them, their lives were messy. The plans changed. Emergencies happened. Things got adjusted. But every single person that I worked with made significant progress, if not achieving their goals. And so I wanted to walk through a few stories. I am going to change everyone's name because I'm not putting people on blast on this podcast without their permission. And so I wanted to just share a few, not everyone's, but just a few people's like life stories over here. Again, names have been changed to protect those that I've worked with. And just because I wanted you to hear real life stories, every single one of these people are real. I'm just changing their names and omitting some of the things, obviously. But I wanted you to hear that you're not the only one with a messy life, so that you can hear yourself in these stories and understand that just because your plan didn't go according to plan doesn't mean you're screwed. It doesn't mean you can't achieve your goal. It absolutely means that you can still make progress. So I want to talk to you about a few different people. And the first one is, we're going to call her Sally, okay? So Sally came into coaching towards the beginning of 2025, and she was working 40 plus hours a week and carrying a lot of mental load when it came to making decisions. She runs a pretty large company, and she was really struggling with this idea of, I've built this company, which is awesome, but I don't really have the time luxury that I was hoping for. And eventually I'm going to want to step out of this in terms of the day to day. And she wasn't trying to get out of the day to day immediately, but she wanted to look forward and say like, but is it possible for me to get out of the day to day? So that's what we were really looking at. And she went, I'm super excited, over the course of 9 months that we were working together, she went from 40 plus hours a week down to a 3-day week, 18 hours. Now I'll say, is it every single week she's working 18 hours? No, of course not. That's not real life. But the majority of the time, she is not going into the office Mondays and Fridays. And she has relinquished control over a lot of things. Now, if you're a solopreneur and you're like, oh, must be nice to have a team. Here's the deal. Some of us have teams, some of us don't. Her reality is that she did have a team, she does have a team, and she was able to hand some things off. It doesn't mean that if you're a solopreneur, you can't optimize your day-to-day operations. So just hold that in there too. But she empowered her team to take on different roles, to take on responsibilities, and they looked for ways to automate and optimize several different things. So creating those SOPs, there were so many things that were streamlined simply because she asked herself, like, what can I change about the things that I do on a daily basis? Do I need to do them? Do they have to be done? How else can we optimize this? And so she was really able to change a lot about what she did. But I think the coolest part was that she would go on vacation, short vacation. She wasn't really taking many long vacations. And she would absolutely take her laptop, and she felt really connected to work the whole time. She really wasn't taking true vacations. In the 9 months, she was actually able to do that. She actually went on several trips. The first trip that she went on without her laptop in 20 years happened last year. It was remarkable. And it took a little bit to get there, but she got there and she felt really good about it. She went on several trips last year, and each time that she came back, I got the message of, Amanda, I just caught up in 2 hours. This used to take me 2 weeks to do. And she felt so good about it. And again, it was simply getting clear on what she wanted and really optimizing that on a regular basis. And it wasn't that her life was perfect. She actually navigated several health things that came up. There were several team member things that came up, and some things wouldn't work when she tried them at first. And she was like, this is working, but this isn't. And so we tweaked things on a weekly basis. And that's how she got to the end result. It wasn't like we started working together and she had a perfect schedule. I said 9 months for a reason. It took 9 months to make these things happen. And overall, it was the mindset shift that was huge. She was able to think about going on vacation without her laptop. She was able to relinquish control of some of the tasks. She was able to delete some of the things that she was doing. And it was remarkable to see that progress. But again, it wasn't because it was perfectly linear like the whole time. It wasn't. But she kept going. So let me tell you about another one of my clients. We're going to call her Crystal. And Crystal had a heavy 2025. If you had a heavy 2025 and you're ready for 2026 to be not that heavy, let me tell you that Crystal feels that hardcore. When she came into our coaching relationship, she didn't know what was in front of her for this year or for the last year, but she was thinking 3 years ahead. She had something, and she still has this dream of doing something in about 3-ish years that she is like, I need to be setting myself up for that. And so everything I do needs to be in planning that thing that she wants to do in 3 years. So that's what we did. We kind of looked at, again, it was a lot of her scheduling. It was a lot of her working like task and that sort of thing. And so we looked at it and we said, okay, well, here's where you are, here's where you want to go. And there's a lot that feels like they have to change. So let's take it one step at a time. But the most interesting thing was that we started implementing, and a lot of the stuff was like around her weekly routine. So we started tackling that pretty hardcore of like, okay, let's make these changes. And she did. And she was so committed. I mean, so committed to doing this. But she was struggling with her focus. And she would mention this and mention it and mention it. And so eventually she said something on a call and she said, Amanda, I think I might have ADHD and I don't want to. And I was so proud of her for saying that. And I just want to be very clear. I am not a healthcare provider. I am not a therapist, but I have absolutely worked with people, many who were either diagnosed by a medical professional or self-diagnosed as ADHD. So many of my clients have navigated this. So again, I'm not giving any healthcare advice, but she had said this on a call, and I said, have you ever talked to your doctor or therapist about this? And she said, I don't want the diagnosis. And I said, that's fair. That's absolutely fair. And she took it to her therapist. She took it to her doctor. And over the course of time, she ended up saying yes to medication. All during this time, we were testing different things with what works for her and what doesn't work for her. And she had done so many things that she was like, this is working, this is working. And then we'd run into something that wasn't working in terms of working with her schedule and what she was doing on a daily and weekly and monthly basis. And once she got on her medication, now I'm not giving health advice. Let me be very clear about this. Again, that I am not giving health advice, but for her, she decided to get on ADHD medication. Within that week, she was near tears and said, Amanda, it's working. Everything that we've done, it's like it all clicked into place. And she was so thankful that she had set herself up with this foundational work that then once the healthcare team decided on something, everything fell into place. She didn't have to then learn how to optimize her schedule. She had already done the hard work. And now everything is running really, really smoothly for her. Now, it wasn't perfect along the way. Not only was she dealing with the kind of like anguish, I would say, of like in the battle of, that health diagnosis. If you've ever been in a situation like this, you'll understand her and probably empathize with her pretty good, of just kind of not wanting something to be true, but moving through that. She also had several different personal crises that came up. Really tough. Really, really tough stuff. Emotional exhaustion. She also has a team. There were some team issues that came up. None of this was easy. Like I said, Crystal had a rough year. It was really rough. She is very excited about 2026. But she never gave up. When I think about a client who did not give up, it is her. Now, all of my clients, none of them gave up. Crystal went through quite the ringer of a year. And she could have thrown in that towel. And I would have understood. I would have said, let's come back to this another time if you want. If you need to tap out for a hot second, you can come back to this. And she never did. Not once. She said, this is so important to me. I want to keep going with this. And she is such a strong woman, and she did it. She did it. And again, not perfect life. So that's why I wanted to bring up her story. And gosh, I feel like I had so many other stories that I wanted to share, but this episode's getting long. So let me just give you a rapid fire of a few other ones. There was another person. So I was working with a therapist over 2025, just Q4. So we're going into 2026, still working with him and his right hand. So he has like a right hand assistant support staff who, man, they are a power team, such a power team. And he had this new idea that when I met him earlier in 2025, he had this idea that he wanted to move forward with, but he knew accountability was going to be really helpful. And so I worked with the two of them, and they, my gosh, rocked it in 2025. And just Q4. And so they are going to be breaking ground on a new building in their community that is going to just be such an amazing thing for their community. And it was an idea. And he's had the idea for a while. I learned about the idea in about mid-2025, and they're going to be breaking ground in 2026. He made significant progress in terms of, working with an architect, getting the land, all of these things in just a short amount of time, simply because he was committed to this dream and had the support along the way. I worked with a fitness instructor who relaunched a membership in 2025, and she knew she wanted to do it, but she had burned herself out previously, so she knew she wanted to do it differently. That was a really powerful experience for me to work through, because when she was working with it, she was very clear. I do not want to repeat what happened before. And so she was really clear on those boundaries, and I'm so proud of her. And she relaunched, and it is beautiful. And now she gets to help so many people in a way that also helps her. I worked with and am still working with her, a new mom and someone who is aspiring to start her business. So she is really at the beginning and the foundations of working through her business, but she wanted support in figuring out that foundation, yes, for her business, but also for her life, and understanding, okay, I've got this baby, and I've got these things surrounding my home and all the life stuff, right? How am I going to do this? Because I really want to do this thing. She was so committed to doing that, and she has put in the work. She's learning a new language. She moved different countries. It has been a year for her too. And so she is going to be doing amazing things in 2026. I'm excited about that. Oh, so many. I'm like, there's another business owner who wants to write a book. I worked with her in 2025, and I'm so proud of her because she was going. She was speaking on podcasts. She was writing this book. She was doing it, and she felt the just courageous, brave need to hit pause on writing. And this is really hard because she was really doing the hard work of doing the writing and speaking about this topic that's really like it's a tough topic and one that I believe she's going to impact so many lives with. But she felt the need to focus on her business again and pause the writing. And she bravely did that. And so I wanted to not only give people who stayed committed, but also the person who was brave and said, I'm going to pause this and put it on the shelf. Equally awesome. Right? Because sometimes that is what we have to do is hit pause. And there's so many other people I could tell you about. Gosh, this episode's so fun, but I'm not going to rattle on and on and on. I gave you tons of things. But all of these incredible people, what they had in common was they knew what they wanted in the future, but they also knew where they are right now. And so they said, here's where I am. Here's where I want to go. How do I get there? What support do I need? All of the examples I just gave were one-on-one clients. However, I've been coaching people for 8 years, and I have been testing for the last year of how I could support people in a non-one-on-one capacity, because sometimes the finances for coaching for one-on-one or the time is not what you need. Sometimes you need something else, but you still need the accountability. And so I've been testing things and like figuring out how can I do this in a way that's going to be the most accessible. And so I'm really excited to share something with you. This is so fun. So last year in 2025, I beta tested a self-accountability tool. Shout out to everyone who was a beta tester. Love all of their feedback. Gosh, it was so helpful to have everyone go through this. And so I'm really excited to say that I'm opening up another 3-month container for this. And so it's a little bit more testing, but it's definitely just the tool. It is not a program. It is not a course. It is not a mastermind. It is none of those things. This is a self-accountability tool. It is a piece of technology that is going to help you hold yourself accountable using my method. You get to do it on your own. It takes 1 to 5 minutes per week. That's it. 1 to 5 minutes. I have people who will tell you that because it is so simple. Every single person who was in the beta test said, Amanda, this is so simple. I love this. It's almost harder not to do it. And so when I was working with the beta testers, I said, do you want to go forward into the new? Because there was a refund policy that I had put together for them. And almost every single one of them said, I want to roll the refund forward. And I think that speaks volumes to this simple tool. They said, I definitely want that in Q1. The few people who did not roll that forward, there were specific reasons, and I totally understand. Most people will utilize this tool really, really well. But if you want one-on-one attention and you need to meet eye to eye with someone, know that about yourself and get the one-on-one support, whether it's through me or someone else, right? But if you think a tool will work, this tool is so simple and it's so simple. It's so cool. All you do is answer a handful of questions each and every week. And then on a monthly basis, you get to see your visible progress rolling up and you get to see this recap. So you're seeing the visible progress that helps with the momentum, right? You're also learning about yourself, and these weekly check-ins will help you actually take action because everyone actually said, I took action based on this tool. So let me tell you about a few of them. So I had an accountant in there and she had a lot she wanted to do. And she stopped putting pressure on herself to fix everything all at once, but instead broke things down and actually saw progress because she broke things down. And she is one that said, I had not broken things down like this. I was really trying to achieve all these big things. And so she broke things down into smaller pieces and saw significant progress. Had a yoga teacher in there that she didn't know, but she was about to go into a season of grief and heaviness. But this tool, she even said, not that it's a therapist, but she said, helped me continue to make progress even in a season of grief. And so that meant a lot when I talked to her about it. when she was so grateful that she was able to continue to work through something that she wanted to in her business, even when things were really, really hard. There's also a marketing agency owner that was in there, and she really wanted to understand and protect her time and how much she was on her phone. So she actually used this tool to support herself in understanding how she wanted to move forward into 2026, like optimizing her time. So that was a really interesting one to see come to fruition for her. And then I had a writer in there who really wanted to stay committed to her writing over the holiday season. That was really important to her, and she knew that she wouldn't do it on her own, but she knew something as simple as a tool would help her do that, and it did. It was wonderful. There were so many other people in there that I could highlight as well, but they were thinking about, how much they were working per week, launching a website, continuing to write. All kinds of different goals were in there related to things they wanted to do, but they kept putting on the back burner, right? We've all been there. We've all done things where we say, I want to do this thing, but then life throws me off for whatever reason. And this tool will help you stay committed, see the momentum, and continue to follow through. So I would love for you to join this tool. I am going to have it open through the month of January, and you can join. So what you'll get is support from January through March. That is the time frame. It will close at the end of March, and then we'll have more information going forward. But basically, here's what it is. And you get all of this for such a great price. So all you need is to know the project, the goal you want to work towards, whatever you want to do. Everyone's going to ask, can I have multiple? Sure, you can have multiple. You can always have multiple goals. Can you realistically work towards all those goals at the same time? Only you know that answer. I typically suggest 1 to 3 in the business bucket, 1 to 3 in the personal bucket, because if you can imagine, if you have 6 things that you're working towards, that's a lot. It's a lot, my friend. Sometimes it's just 1, but sometimes it does make sense to have more. So yes, you can have more than 1, but you really want to think about how much capacity you actually have. So you have to do the gut check on this. This is a self-accountability tool. This is trusting that you're going to know what to put on your plate. And also through the weekly check-ins, if you realize, shoot, I've put too much on my plate, how can you take it off? Because you can always adjust. Then you need to commit to yourself, because again, this is a self-accountability tool. You're going to sign up and you're going to pay for something. And so that's going to help you stay committed, but you have to say, I'm committed to doing this, because I'm not knocking on your door, right? And saying, hey, did you do what you said you were going to do? I am sending reminders every single week. You don't have to remember to go into the tool. I'm going to send you a reminder if you're signed up for this, so you don't have to do it all on your own. The beauty is, if you are committed and you can spend 1 to 5 minutes per week on this, I promise you'll see the progress, because the tool is going to do all the work on the back end. As long as you give it the information, it will show you, here's what's helping you, here's what's hindering you, and see the progress you're making. It's remarkable. And you can get all of that for only $150 for the entire 3 months. $150. This is a fraction of what people pay for my one-on-one work. And again, one-on-one is me meeting with you on Zoom. So it's a very different time commitment, very different level of support. But this self-accountability tool will help you move the needle forward. So for $150, you can promise yourself that you'll make progress and use this tool. It takes 1 to 5 minutes a week. So you are absolutely invited into this. Again, it's not a course. It's not a program. You're not watching a ton of content. It's so simple, so easy to use. So your accountable action, after listening to me talk about so many different examples of how people's life was not perfect, but yet they made progress using this system of a weekly check-in, right? I want you to think about, what is something that you have been waiting for the perfect time, for the perfect plan, for the perfect sign? What is the thing that you have been thinking about and waiting, but you know deep down it is time to move forward? Maybe it is a goal that's 3 years down the road. Maybe it's a goal that's 6 months down the road, or anywhere in between, right? What is the thing that you want to do? And then I want you to ask yourself, what is one imperfect step that I can take this week instead of waiting for perfect? And then you have to do it. It's time to do the work, my friend. And this is the basis of what the tool will help you do. What is the thing I really want to do that I've been waiting and putting off and putting other people's goals before? Just putting off because it felt too hard, but it's deep down, it's calling to you. It is the thing that you know it right now. Like I can feel it on the other side of the screen that you know what it is. That thing, ask yourself, what is this thing? And then how can I imperfectly move towards progress this week? Not next week, not 3 months from now, not 6 months from now, not when life calms down, but right now in the reality of what you live in right now. What can you do to take one tiny step forward this week? That's what the tool does. So you can do this on your own. You can track your progress on a weekly basis all on your own. And I fully support if you choose to do that. But if you want my support, if you want the encouragement, if you want the accountability from me on the other side through a very simple tool, I'd love for you to enjoy this tool because it is going to support you in such a fun way. So all you have to do is go to amandamckinney.com/work with me, or you can go to amandamckinney.com/goal tracker and you'll find information. Everything will be there for you. If you have any questions, feel free to email or send me a message on social or whatever the case is, but get in there. So it'll be open the entire month of January and then you'll get support January through March. So go to amandamckinney.com/goal tracker for all the information on that. But regardless, it's time to take action on the thing that you want to take action on. Don't wait for perfect anymore. You heard so many examples and I can give you so many more. No one has a perfect life and no one has a perfect plan. You have the goal that you want to achieve. So go after it imperfectly, my friend, okay? Because now is the time. You'll regret it if you don't go after it, so go after it. And I believe in you. 2026 is going to be the year that you get after it and you make imperfect progress. I'm so grateful that you're here. Thank you for taking me on the journey with you. And I wish you all the best this week, taking imperfect action. And I'll talk to you soon.